Welcome back, everyone. So, after some feedback and some more inspiration, I thought I'd come back with another video for all you. Here's another video that's going to explore the same situation we had in our first video. We're going to come back to our example with John and Mary. So, again, we're going to come back to the connection circle with all the needs that we've already set up and the ways that John and Mary get these needs met in their relationship with one another. So John had, again, space, love, contribution. Mary had connection, love, and respect. And they had their own ways in the relationship of meeting those. In this case, let's explore a situation where Mary's the one who reaches out and listens to John around the things that are going on for him. So, as we had our example in the first place, they were at the party together. John had his need for space came up. Let's additionally assume that John didn't necessarily have his need for contribution and listening that strong. As a result, he wouldn't be able to listen when Mary would come to him. And they're at the party together. He leaves her alone at the party. As a result, automatically, as we discussed before, her need for respect pops out of the connection circle. She gets upset. At the same time, she doesn't have the connection, not having spent time with him, and she gets sad. So, suppose that she gets very aware of these two needs. In the first example, she didn't quite get aware of those. And remember, again, I'm just exploring one specific example of what could happen. Obviously, at any point as I go along, any one of these things could change in any direction. Certain circumstances come up, different needs pop up, and might get met or unmet, and as a result, people decide to do different things. In this specific example, let's suppose that instead of Mary not being aware of her need for connection and respect not being met and waiting until they get back home to address it, let's suppose she is aware of it and she decides to bring it up right away at the party. Now, before she moves on to go to talk to him, considering that she's upset and sad, just approaching him and addressing him from that perspective would probably be pretty unproductive. I want to point out again that the point of this example is that John and Mary are both interested in bringing things back into the connection circle, which a relationship essentially should be about. And if people are not bringing it back in, then the relationship is obviously struggling. So all of my examples will end up at the end with two of them connecting. So considering that Mary is interested in connecting with John, she will first make sure that she takes care of her being sad and upset, at least a little bit, by just kind of relaxing a bit, taking the time off, and essentially getting empathy for herself. Now, this is not to say that all of a sudden she won't feel upset. The empathy of maybe sitting by herself, she might call a friend quickly if she's really upset. There's various different things one can do. Suppose she gets the empathy she needs and she slightly brings her upset down. She's still upset, but slightly down. Respect gets back a bit into the connection circle because she set in with herself and maybe understood that, respect is something that doesn't necessarily have to come directly from John, and she can get it through different means. Let's say that sadness goes down a bit as well. Maybe not connection, might not still pop in because obviously she's not spending the time with John. Having done this, she can be a bit more ready to approach John because she won't be heated. So let's suppose with this in place, she goes and approaches John and she asks him if they can talk for a minute. Let's take this in a direction instead of John just agreeing to talk to her, considering that his need for contribution and as a result willingness to listen is pretty low in this context. He's really enjoying his time with his friends and he just happened to be in the middle of a really, really interesting conversation. Suppose that this approach and a request from Mary to talk to him ends up triggering him even more, and not only that his need for space actually completely pops out of the connection circle and he doesn't want to talk to him, but suppose he gets even annoyed. And I would imagine a lot of people would think how unfair this is, how mean John is towards Mary and all that kind of stuff. Have in mind that both of them are committed to bringing things back into the circle, and considering that Mary already took some time to get empathy and she's not as sad as an upset, she will have a bit more capacity to be able to understand that what's going on for John is not a personal attack to her, and she wouldn't take it personally, and she would just understand that he is essentially really wanting to have space, and that her attempt to connect with him while he was talking in the middle of a good conversation with someone probably made things maybe even worse. Now she could probably, like a lot of people will think, well, that's it, I'm out of here, which obviously produces another set of results which I can explore. But I will explore the topic of her being interested in just approaching in one more time and saying something like, I see you're enjoying your time with friends. Please, I need to talk to you for a minute. Now, a lot of people would also think that this is just being purely polite and letting John step all over her while he's just wanting to have his good time with his friends. Meanwhile, she's like waiting around and having to like beg him to talk to him. This is not what I mean. She doesn't necessarily have to be polite. She can be very firm about it. She doesn't have to be rude about it either, which is what I think what a lot of people would do, especially if they didn't take care of themselves in advance to make sure that they're not as upset and heated up to bring up the conversation. So it's about making sure that one, as a lot of people would say, puts one's foot down and approaches. Additionally, what Mary is doing, she knows, she's aware of the fact that John needs his space at the moment. And she's approaching it from that perspective. She's aware of it and she's acknowledging it. She's acknowledging that he's having a good conversation. She might even say, sorry to interrupt. There's essentially nothing inherently right or wrong with that. She's just interested in bringing things back into the connection circle. Just like John was very much so interested in bringing things into the connection circle in the last example, when he was willing to listen to her evaluate that he doesn't care for her and that he just wants to talk to his friends. Same wise, she's listening to him right now. And for the sake of the example, let's suppose that it takes effect, that he gets interested in wanting to talk to her. His feeling of being annoyed gets a bit down, and his need for space gets back a bit more into the connection circle. Now, if he just didn't care, then they have a serious problem in their relationship, and then they would have to really, as one would say, take it to the next level of her being even firmer, like saving it for a big conversation later, or maybe even at the same time, at the same party, say we need to leave right now, and depending on where things go depends on what the outcome of the relationship at their night is going to be. And again, they're interested in bringing this specific night into a place where they can both enjoy the evening together, and they're both aware of it. And this approach from Mary will also additionally help John realize that he's stepped over the boundaries potentially, that she's trying to tell him something really important, and maybe pop into his mind that it might be a good time for him to listen as well, in order to bring things a bit more into balance between him and her. Something's off, and she's trying to talk to him. In this case, all the peripheral talks will go away. John is curious to hear what's going on for Mary, and at the same time, Mary is aware of that he needs the space as well. So in the process, at this point, considering that Mary is the one who approached him, she could say something like, I really see that you want to have a lot of time with your friends. I really respect that, and I really want to make sure that you have a good time. And through that process, his annoyance can really go away, and he can get back into a place where he's actually really present with her. And having done that, his ability to want to listen and contribute to her will also grow stronger. And this is all within the party still, because they're having a nice connected talk with one another. And as soon as he's in that mode, he can actually hear right at the spot that he did something to her that really made her upset and had her not have her need for respect get met. So as a result, by him really focusing in on that, not as a cheap trick to get her off her back so he can go back to his friends and talk, but really he's interested. He wants to make sure that both of them are together enjoying the party at the same time. And if she really truly hears that through him, in this case offering her empathy even more, not as just her wanting to get empathy earlier by herself, but she's getting it from him right now as well, she will get her respect back, her sadness will go away, and having spent at least a little bit of time can actually be really, really effective at times. Empathy can be really powerful even for moments, and people can feel connected within seconds. And they will be back to a really connected state again within the connection circle, everything will be back again, and they can continue and having a great time, even if John is wanting to spend a bunch of time with his friends, and Mary can spend good time with other people, and maybe every once in a while even check in and just, keep it at bay. So this is yet another example. I'm really hoping to do a bunch of these, and please comment, send me your thoughts. I'm curious to see what other kind of things I might have missed out on, if anything's unclear, or if you want me to explore any other example of what could have went down. I would love to share with you guys. Thank you so much for listening.